This video will demonstrate how to inject hardwood trees using Arbor Systems Quick Connect Tree Injection Unit. It is assumed that the unit has been prepared in accordance with the instruction guide. If unsure how to prepare your unit, refer to the instruction guide or view the Preparing for Use video. Begin by selecting the correct length tip. The standard 3/4 inch wedge tip is used for most hardwood trees. The longer 1.5 inch tip is for thick bark trees such as elms and eucalyptus. Hand insert a wedge tip through the bark until you feel resistance of the tip as it reaches the outer ring of the sapwood or xylem. If you do not feel the tip reach the wood, switch to a longer wedge tip. Attach a wedge tip to the front QC coupler by sliding back the coupler and inserting the tip hub. Slide the tip into the coupler until it stops. Then release the sleeve to lock the tip in place. Be sure to position the tip so the small hole on the barrel of the tip is directed upward. Slide the deflector shield over the tip until positioned snugly against the hub. In this video, the injector is shown with the deflector shield removed for demonstration purposes only. For safety, always operate the injector with the deflector shield in place. Treating trees at the flare or base of the tree is always preferable. Trees with bark fissures or valleys should be injected at the base of the fissure. For smooth barks or small diameter trees, inject in tight bark. Pull off the wedge check from the plastic strip and place it on the insertion tool of the wedge punch. Insert the wedge check punch straight into the tree. Rotate the punch in both clockwise and counterclockwise motions. Withdraw the punch with a straight motion, removing a small core of bark from the tree. Remove the punch and squeeze the trigger to remove the bark core from the punch into the palm of your hand. Examine the core to make sure the entire core has been removed. If part of the core remains in the tree, the wedge check may not seat properly. Make note, avoid moving the punch side to side or up and down, as this may enlarge the hole in the bark and cause the wedge check not to seat firmly. Insert the wedge check directly into the punch site until the wedge check flange is flush with the outer bark of the tree. The barbs on the wedge check will secure it in the bark. Slide the wedge tip through the wedge check and bark with a straight, gentle motion until you feel resistance of the tip meeting sapwood. Do not jab wedge tips into a tree as tips may bend or break. Do not force the tip into the sapwood. Only moderate hand pressure is needed. If the correct tip length was selected, it will usually be inserted no more than 3/4 of the length of the tip. The tip should be inserted so chemical will be delivered to the cambial zone, between the bark and the outer ring of sapwood known as xylem. Squeeze both handles of the injector at the same time using a smooth, firm motion. This places a pre-measured dose of chemical into the cambio zone between the bark and the xylem, where it can easily be absorbed. Apply equal pressure on both handles. Unequal pressure may bend or break the tip. Follow chemical label instructions to determine the correct dosage and number of injection sites. Slowly remove the wedge tip from the tree. The self-sealing wedge check plugs the hole. Repeat these steps while moving around the flare of the tree. Leave the wedge checks in the tree. The growth will eventually push the wedge checks out. On occasion, some seepage may occur out of the center of the wedge check. Holding the tip inside the tree for 30 seconds or more may minimize this. Repeat this injection around the circumference in accordance with the label directions. Spring through late summer is the ideal time for injecting hardwoods. Treatments done too early or too late may result in leaks if the bark is not pliable. If this occurs in the spring, wait a few days and try again. If this occurs in the fall, try using half doses and add more injection points, or wait until spring. Benefits of injecting at the base or flare of the tree. When controlling cambio feeding borers, it is crucial that the injection occurs at the flare, so the entire trunk is treated. Chemical will distribute more evenly throughout the tree. Injecting greater volumes of chemicals such as fungicides is easier. For tough bark trees such as hackberry and hickory, the flare offers a more pliable area of injection. If any sap or chemical seepage occurs, it is less visible at the base of the tree. Treating thin bark trees. Chemical retention is improved when injections are made through the thickest available bark, generally found around the flare or base of the tree. You may reduce the amount of chemical per injection and increase the number of injection sites. Do not be concerned if the wedge check does not fully insert into the bark. Barbs will hold the wedge check in place. Barks vary by tree species. Each tree must be evaluated to determine which wedge tip to use and where on the tree to place the injections. On trees with thinner bark, such as ash, oak, birch, and locust, you will use the 3/4 inch wedge tip. On thicker bark trees such as cottonwood, eucalyptus, and elm, you will use the 1.5 inch wedge tip. Notice when the bark is pliable, you will see the bark bulge when you inject the chemical. You may also see a very small amount of chemical weep or drip from the wedge check. This is normal and will not affect the chemical's effectiveness.